McGraw-Hill Professional presents The Native Advertising Advantage. Build authentic content that revolutionizes digital marketing and drives revenue growth. Written by Mike Smith. Narrated by Dave Clark. Forward. There's no question that we will look back on the 2010s as a moment that the world and the way we interact changed forever. A byproduct of the unprecedented global penetration of mobile technology. As we approach the 10th anniversary of the iPhone, it is hard to imagine our lives before Steve Jobs stood on that stage and in his trademark offhanded style said, "Oh, and there's one more thing we want to share," as he introduced a device that would quickly become indispensable to millions. In addition to changing how we shop, Amazon, date, Tinder, share our happiest events and memories, Facebook, Instagram, get from place to place in our communities, Uber. The rapid rise of smartphone ownership has also changed human behavior, effectively rewiring our brains. It's a lot like Pavlov's dogs, a case of classical conditioning. The relationship we have with our mobile devices is, in many cases, an addictive one. 83% of millennials sleep with phones within reach. In one study of young adults, 29% of respondents said they would rather give up sex for 3 months instead of exchanging their smartphone for a dumb phone for a single week. In increasing numbers, young people don't go to movie theaters as the thought of sitting in a darkened room for 90 minutes causes anxiety and FOMO, fear of missing out. Being away from social media for an hour and a half. Impossible. And it's not just millennials. IKEA in Asia recently introduced a hot plate that won't turn on until people place their cell phones underneath it, encouraging conversation over dinner. The smartphone addiction knows no age limits. Along with everything else, mobile devices are reshaping advertising. Apple and Samsung aside, the world's marketers didn't invent cell phone addiction, but it is now their job to form-fit their advertising and communications around all changes in consumer behavior. And that's why we will also look back on this period as a time when native advertising reshaped how consumers engage with brands and marketing messages. As Mike Smith points out, native advertising has effectively been around for decades. In the 1940s, Texaco sponsored Texaco Star Theater on radio and television and introduced the country to Milton Berle. Newspapers have produced and published sponsored supplements for years, and magazines have long created advertorials, one of the worst names ever in my opinion. Until recently, native advertising was practiced only by a handful of media outlets. There were a relatively small number of television network owners, ditto for a finite number of newspapers and magazines. These sectors had high barriers to entry around their businesses. Their form factor, over-the-air television signals, large printing presses for newspapers, glossy paper and slick design for magazines, limited the number of brand players, as well as innovation and evolution of the medium. Smartphones level the playing field. The form factor, content presented on a 5-inch screen, puts all publishers initially on an equal footing. A startup in Mountain View can easily mimic the look and feel of a brand of stature like the New York Times. Or a group of video producers in Williamsburg can create video on par with what NBC creates at 30 Rock. The 5-inch screen is the great leveler of content presentation, a historic change from the time when a media company required antennas, broadcast licenses, printing presses, delivery trucks, and more. But while consumers enjoy myriad content options, the smartphone has presented marketers with an enormous challenge. Advertising, as it had always been known, doesn't function the same way on that small screen. The clear demarcation of advertising and editorial presents unique challenges. When people are checking their phones nearly 150 times a day, how do you engage them as they constantly dart in and out of content? Native advertising, so smartly defined and chronicled and dissected by Mike Smith in the following pages, represents a material part of the future.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?